JD Vance, I challenge you to a match of Magic the Gathering so we can see what your deck building skills are all about. What's going on, guys? It's your boy beatsbyash back at it again with another banger of a video. And today I have some very important news to discuss in the greater card game community. So recently, Usha Vance, the wife of currently running for vice president, Senator JD Vance, went on to do an interview with Fox and Friends where she was asked what are some of her husband's geeky or nerdy tendencies, and she replied to the extent of, and I'm going to paraphrase here, JD is going to kill me for this, but it's Magic the Gathering. So essentially, JD Vance, the potential upcoming vice president in our next election, likes Magic the Gathering. And now this is no new news. In fact, in JD Vance's self-made memoir, he actually states at some point he had to hide his love for Magic the Gathering from his father and from his community because the church that he was involved with, the religious community, often thought of Magic the Gathering as a satanic practice at that time. And this is something that I think really resonates with me and a lot of people, because many people don't realize that back in the 90s, that's what was commonly thought of Magic the Gathering. And I know because my brother, who got me into Magic when I was about 12, he's a little bit older than JD Vance. Whenever he first started playing the game, our dad was friends with another family, and my brother would hang out with those kids as well. And essentially, the mom of that family thought that that game was satanic and that Dungeons and Dragons was satanic, and would try to throw away all the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, throw away the Magic cards. So I think that's something like a lot of people relate to, and I find that very interesting. But that's besides the point. When I first hear that JD Vance, a primetime political figure, a person who is in the eye of the public, enjoys a hobby that I also love and enjoy, I'm just like, okay, that's awesome.
The Cool Guy Club.
I'm glad that, someone here is shedding light on something I love to do, and that, it kind of makes people seem more relatable because it showcases that, whether you agree with this individual or not, someone who is in a position of, rigorous amounts of duties, such as a senator, they still have time to enjoy a hobby that I also personally enjoy. And I just think that's really cool. And if it was a Democrat senator that I may not agree with their policy choices, I would still think it's just very cool that someone of that stature, someone who has that level of responsibilities to serve the public, still has time to do something that I also love and enjoy. And the reason I'm bringing this up today is because a lot of people who consider themselves in the Magic the Gathering community have taken to spaces like X, formerly known as Twitter, and started spreading an immense amount of hatred after this clip has went around the internet of JD's wife expressing that he enjoys Magic the Gathering. And those are the exact people that I don't want to be a part of my community. Because if you're spreading hate against anyone just because they enjoy something that a lot of us enjoy, then I think you haven't been paying attention to the last 5 years of what Wizards of the Coast, the owner of Magic the Gathering, has really become. They've essentially went down this very woke path of pushing this ideal that they're trying to be as inclusive as all possible on every facet of the game, which I'm all down for everybody playing who wants to play. That's awesome. But sometimes the way that these people approach it is a little bit weird, and I don't think that I'm in the wrong or I'm the odd man out for saying that. One example of this would be when last year Wizards of the Coast released the hit set Lord of the Rings Universes Beyond, which was an entire set based on the movies and books of Lord of the Rings. They actually changed certain characters, such as Aragorn, to being a different race. In the case of Aragorn, they made him black. So they changed his skin color, changed his ethnicity, and I assume these people think that they're doing this as a way to be inclusive, but most normal, sensible people see this either two ways. Even if you're black, you're either going to not know anything about Lord of the Rings and think, oh, the card's good or bad, or you're going to know something about Lord of the Rings and you'll be like, hey, I actually really like this character and I like Lord of the Rings. Why did they change the dynamics of the character, essentially infringing upon the IP? That's really weird.
Everybody's got a price.
No one's gonna be like, oh my gosh, I feel so included, man. Or like, fuck, they changed his skin. Why is the card so ass? It's so ass. It's like everyone's just like, okay, this is kind of weird. Or like, the card just ass. I'm not doing anything. You know, like those are the two options. But these people seem to think that it's making the game more inclusive. And a lot of these people who would say that they're all out for being inclusive to everyone have now attacked JD Vance, which is the exact opposite of what you would think these kind of people would be doing. So let me go ahead and read you guys a couple of the tweets that have been made about this clip surfacing around the internet of JD's wife exposing that he likes Magic the Gathering. So this first person says, JD Vance being into Magic the Gathering just set us back a decade plus in public perception. Okay? This next one, and I quote, says, it is for everyone except for the worthless, hateful assholes that make up the population of conservatives. Y'all have no place here. I mean, just really terrible, hateful things to say. This next person says, bigotry and hate has no place in Magic. He has no home here. And this guy is even further illustrated as an obvious person of worth and value by the fact that his profile picture is him wearing a hoodie which depicts Colonel Sanders from Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Gotcha, bitch!
So obviously this guy knows a thing or two about the Magic the Gathering community. And then this person says, gonna nip this in the bud right now and speak for the greater Magic enjoying community by saying definitively, JD Vance can fuck off into the sun. We do not claim that creep. Now, what I have to say to that is, did you maybe ever consider that JD Vance never even claimed he was a part of the Magic community? This whole debacle started because his wife answered an interview question saying that he plays the game. He didn't come out to the Magic the Gathering community and say, this is my community. I'm forcing my ideas and beliefs on you guys who share a common interest. He didn't say any of that. But still, these people are attacking him and spreading anything except inclusivity. And then the last thing that I wanted to showcase is this person says, what is nuts about this JD Vance Plays Magic news resurfacing is that I actually found his deck online and dealt a sample hand. So if you don't know anything about Magic, essentially this person spent hours looking for some of the most disrespectful or hateful cards to describe JD Vance and then compiled them all together. And over 120,000 people have seen this with 2,500 likes and 257 retweets. So a lot of people are spreading a hateful message. Some of the cards that they're using to describe him are blind obedience because apparently he's blindly following, his puppet master, or Throne of Bone, which has a flavor text that says tainted by 1,000 fears, or entirely normal armchair, suggesting that JD Vance is someone that other people use to sit upon. The fact that this person took so much time to handpick each one of these hateful things to say about anyone just tells me I don't ever want to interact with someone like that, not in my hobby, but not in life. You're wasting so much time spreading a hateful message in a life that's so short. And anyone that's pushing these narratives and claiming to be a part of the card game community in a whole is someone that I don't claim in the card game community, because card games have never been about that. I have a lot of good friends that I played card games with, and just friends in general who think very differently than me, and I love playing with those people because they're fun to be around. I love interacting with people like that because it's good to have people who don't always agree with you, because even if you can't always agree, it's still good to have other people who see things a little bit differently so that you can shape your own thought process with a little bit of common sense and not just be, secluded in your own world of my idea is always right. And that's exactly the opposite of what these people are pushing. Wizards of the Coast claims that this is an inclusive space, but all of these people who consider themselves to be speaking for the greater community are pushing the exact opposite of inclusivity.
With imagination, I can be anything I want.
And I think everyone is asking the wrong questions. Well, firstly, they're not even asking questions. They're just straight up attacking someone who didn't make any single remark on the subject. He was just attacked, and 99% of these people didn't even know he existed before a month ago. JD Vance himself stated he didn't even know he was going to be picked to become the next vice president until the night of the announcement at the Republican National Convention. So in some ways, he didn't even decide to put himself in front of these threats. His duty was just called, and he stood up to take upon the role that society has placed upon him. And as a person who is a former ex-military veteran, that is the least that I would assume someone like him would feel justified to do, because he stepped up for our country before. And I take this very sincerely when people are attacking someone, not just because I like them, but attacking a veteran. Because people really, really do not care enough about our veterans in this country. And a lot of people take for granted the fact that this is one of the only countries in the world that does not require mandatory military service. And it's because of people like JD that we do not have to do that, and always understand that is a privilege currently and not a right. And so we need to treat anyone who is a military veteran with respect, regardless of their beliefs and regardless of whether they think differently than us. But that brings me to the point of the questions we should really be asking. If you want to actually consider yourself a part of the Magic community, we need to be asking, what kind of deck does this guy play? Is he a green mage? Is JD Vance the kind of guy that opens Natural Tron and still plays Karn Liberated 10 years after it stopped being good? If that's the case, he is an incredibly based individual and someone that I really want to be my next leader. Or is he a toxic blue-white control player? Does he casually enter his friendly commander games utilizing Rhystic Study, Smothering Tithe, or Land Tax with a turn 1 Esper Sentinel? If that's the case, I may be rethinking some things. But these are questions that you would assume a person in the Magic the Gathering community would be asking, instead of just announcing that he is a bigot, that he is a white supremacist, and that he shouldn't be a part of our community. But to end all of this off, I want to give JD Vance an opportunity to showcase why card games are for anyone and everyone. So JD Vance, I challenge you to a match of Magic the Gathering so we can see what your deck building skills are all about. One of the things I really like about card games is I think you can learn a lot from someone just by sitting across the table from them and going through the motions of a game without even having to ask the hard questions. So I would love to play a game of Magic the Gathering with JD Vance and find out what he is all about. So tag JD Vance in this video. If you know someone who knows JD Vance, tag them in this video. Let them know that we need to meet up at Mar-a-Lago so the American people can see that card games and all hobbies are meant for anyone and everyone who has a love of the game, and maybe we can get to know the next potential leader a little bit better. So my prayers go out to JD and all his family for taking on all this unnecessary hate. And thank you guys so much for getting this far in the video. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, if it's not the goo, it's got to go. Peace.
Ooh, and a good